I just watched The Boys Season 5. Spoiler alert, it barely hits the right marks. After a long run of this satirical superhero show, audience reactions are quite mixed. The first 3 seasons set high expectations with their depth in writing about anti-heroes, clever mockery of the superhero genre, and a well-balanced mix of over-the-top gore, dark comedy, and moments that typically superhero projects tend to avoid. However, following season 4, viewers begin to notice a decline in its subtlety of its satire, along with the writing issues relating to characters and plots. There was also an excessive focus on the edgy humor. When season 5 arrived, many fans held back their excitement, concerned that the creators and writers would carry over these previous issues into the final season. Not only did the writers continue to struggle, but they also added even more issues, further disappointing the audiences.
Well, that sucks.
One of the main issues audiences notice is the amount of promotion of their next show, Vought Rising. There's nothing wrong with teasing the next installment, it's an issue when it becomes the main plot of the season. In doing so, the season alters several character arcs, most notably Soldier Boy. Soldier Boy's sudden romance with Clara, also known as Stormfront, feels less like a natural development of his character and more like an attempt to establish material for Vought Rising. Considering his previous established devotion to Crimson Countess, the shift feels abrupt and largely exists to support the spin-off's future storyline. As we waste time watching these promotional moments, we drift away from the main plotline, such as Butch's thirst for the end of superheroes. In season 4, the character Joe Kessler was introduced as part of Butch's hallucination due to his use of TemV. Joe was portrayed as Butch's devil on the shoulder, influencing his dark side. Before this season's release, the actor suggested that his role would play a much larger part in season 5. Instead of expanding his role, the actor was ultimately used in a brief cameo as an entirely different character. This leaves what appears to be an important storyline from season 4 feeling abandoned in favor of newer plot lines. This suggests that the writers may have shifted their priorities during development, resulting in certain storylines feeling rushed or underdeveloped. While some of the scenes promoting Vought Rising are well done, they are only there to focus on teasing what the audience will see in that show. Audience themselves set high expectations of seeing these setups from previous seasons and expecting a decent payoff, such as Butch's cancer, characters from Gen V, Ryan's significance as a natural-born suit, Homelander's scorched earth plan, and many, many more. As a result, dedicating so much time to Vought Rising leaves less room to properly resolve the many storylines that they have already established. However, the writers and creators still went with it. How come?
Got all the answers, don't you?
One possible explanation is that Amazon became increasingly focused on preserving the franchise beyond The Boys, which may have encouraged the writers to devote more attention to future projects than to conclude existing storylines. Just before season 5 of The Boys premiered, Amazon announced that after 2 seasons of the spin-off show Gen V was cancelled due to poor viewership. While there's no way to know exactly what happened behind the scenes, the season gives the impression that expanding the franchise becomes a greater priority than finishing the story at first. Gen V was not heavily woven into the main plot of The Boys before its release. While the series certainly has connections to the wider universe, it largely stood on its own through its characters, conflicts, and storylines. Despite its flaws, many viewers enjoyed the show because it felt like a natural expansion of The Boys, rather than a mandatory chapter in the franchise. At the time, it seemed like Gen V had a clear purpose: to broaden the world of The Boys and eventually allow its younger generation of superheroes to play a role in the larger conflict against Vought and Homelander. However, with Vought Rising, the approach feels different. Rather than expanding the universe organically, it often feels as though the final season of The Boys is being used to advertise another project. To me, this reflects Amazon's reluctance to let go of one of its most successful franchises, even if that comes at the expense of giving The Boys a satisfying conclusion.
You're just a bunch of sad, boring bumpkins who were born here and will die here and accomplish nothing in between.
Season 5 is not without its strengths. The performance remains strong, and several individual moments still capture what made The Boys stand out in the first place. However, as a final season, it struggles to deliver a satisfying payoff to years of storytelling. By committing so much attention to setting up Vought Rising, the series loses sight of its characters and conflicts that audience were most invested in. Rather than feeling like the end of a story, Season 5 often feels like the beginning of another, and that may be its biggest flaw. Do what you love and be happy.
I'll fucking suck your dick, please!